Hey, this is PNW Enduro. Today I'm going to be taking the first ride on this brand new 2018 KTM 250 XCW TPI. So I've just ridden up the road into the first trail here. Bike's warmed up, so I know there's a lot of questions about how fast this starts up. Let's see. I'm not convinced this bike starts much slower than a carbureted version. It's something I'd like to test further in a future video, but from my experience so far, if there is a delay, it's pretty minor. Hey guys. I initially thought I was riding a little slow with the new bike and maybe the setup was a little off, but looking back at the video now, I think I was actually flowing pretty well. So it's been a little while since I've been on an XCW model. Definitely got to get used to the lower first and second gear. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just a little different than the XCs. Power does come on really smooth though, which I like. It's more controllable. The idle sounds like it's just perfect right out of the box. Gonna try and hit a little bit of everything tonight. A little slow and technical, a little some fast and flowy. Stick with a couple easy trails right now while I kind of get used to this bike, how it feels. Sun's been out here for a couple days. But before that, we had 16 straight days of rain. You can see how the trails are still pretty saturated. Okay, now that I've got the bike dirty, I'm just gonna quickly go over a couple little things that I've noticed on this bike as far as the finish that I actually really like. This covering here down these lines, one line is for your speedo down there. I remember on my 200 that I kept having to fix this because they would rub through under here. And on this one, it's got this covering that holds these two together, and that's going to protect your cables for a lot longer. So it's just a nice little added touch there. I really like the trip computer. Of course, the XCs don't come with it. I added my own. You've seen the bar pad mount that I have, but the stock KTM ones are really nice. And another thing I've noticed, because it has the taillight on the back, honestly I don't really care about the taillight, but this piece of plastic that holds it on is excellent to get a grip on if you need to lift the bike. Whereas like these homemade grips here, this is pretty useless. You can't really get a grip on anything. And on my XC, I'm always grabbing right here. But with that extra piece there, it's like you actually have something to grip on. So that's a nice touch. We put this through some technical stuff right away. This bike will really lug low and just doesn't stall. getting into some faster flowy stuff now. And I notice in the slow stuff, the bottom end on this bike is phenomenal. It feels more like a 300 that I've ridden compared to my 250 XC. It's got that same 300 grunt. Even sounds more like a 300. So right here is your oil reservoir. That's where you put your premix in instead of mixing it like a traditional two-stroke. I don't see anything leaking from there. You might have seen other videos saying that oil tends to leak out of the top of that, but I think that is probably just from overfilling or filling it too fast, because you got to put the oil in there really slow. But I don't see any issues with that at all. The power comes on really smooth. But you can hear it's still got that two-stroke hit. I think the shock feels pretty good. I don't really have any complaints about the shock. I think the spring rate is a little hard for my weight. I'm at the very bottom of the weight range, so not quite getting as much sag as I should. If this was my bike, I'd be putting a softer spring on there. But then I'm lighter than the average rider, so a lot of people probably don't need to do that, or even go the other direction possibly. Starting to feel a little better on the forks. Kind of flowing over stuff now. I think I got the rebound a little better. It was way off for me at the beginning. And just a little bit of seat time on a new bike, I guess, too. Still a long way back from the truck, so this headlight's going to come in handy before the end of this ride. I don't think it's something I would use specifically for night riding. I would put an aftermarket headlight or like a bolt-on, like the Thumper Jockey ones I have on my 250 XC. But to get you back at the end of an evening ride when the sun's going down, it'll do the trick. Well, the throttle response, when you want it, it's right there right away. It's nice and crisp, but still being smooth. My impressions of this bike after the first ride. First off, it runs incredibly clean and crisp, really impressive. Also, the bottom end power is very good. These are things I was already kind of expecting, but what may have surprised me the most is how comfortable I felt on the suspension. I think I came in with a little bit of a bias, thinking the air forks and the linkage are just superior to the Explorer forks and the PDS, but I might be changing my mind. These feel pretty good so far. That's it for the first ride on the 2018 KTM 250 XCW TPI. I got a lot more footage coming out on this bike in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. Until then, thanks for watching.